I can watch The Martian 13 times straight. That's just a weird number to pick.
Going with prime numbers here.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Hello!
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Victory!
Victory. In Jesus.
Entourage reference there. That Viking
Victory
show.
in Jesus.
That Viking
My
show.
Savior forever.
He bought me and he talked about me.
I like Chris's, what was that show called that Johnny Drama was in?
It was Viking Quest.
There it is.
Viking Quest. Nice.
Yeah.
You know your entourage.
And like at the, I think it's in the movie where he wins the Oscar for Vinny Chase's movie that he's in. And he goes up there and he goes, "Victory!"
Of course he does.
Yeah. Today is going to be a bunch of mail that we have, or emails and questions that we haven't gotten to. But we also have a bunch of stuff to talk about as far as the Sin Club and Patreon and things like that. What we need to tell the people, Barrett? What do we need to tell the people about Patreon?
You listen to me, listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. If you want this content that you're listening to, if you want that early, if you want bonus podcast stuff, if you want bonus videos, if you want to get into Sin Week and watch a Sin bonus videos that nobody else can access, and trust me, especially this year, it will make you horny for this content. Sign up for the Sin Club, which is on patreon.com/cinemasins. You can sign up for $3, $5, $10, and it gets you access to all kinds of crazy stuff. All the videos early, all the podcast stuff early, the bonus content. Man, it's so good. You have to sign up to get it. And then you be a member of our community, our Sins community, and we will welcome you, and we will love you. And we will caress you, but from afar.
We have an annual deal, right?
Yeah. That's the coolest part. So if you sign up right now, there's a new thing that Patreon put on there. You can sign up for an annual plan and get 2 months free. 2 months free if you sign up as an annual member.
That's 50%.
Yeah,
no, it's really not.
It works out.
It's not.
Chicks.
That was a joke. Don't take that seriously.
So sign up, go to patreon.com/cinemasins and sign up to be a member of our Sin Club. And you'll get more interaction with us, with the quote B team. You know, we'll take care of you. We'll take care of you.
Everybody's doing
We'll
it.
hook you up. Everybody's doing it. And you should too.
Yeah. And I did want to mention that in the past year, we've gotten quite a bit of mail and some gifts here and there from people out there sending to our P.O. Box, which, by the way, if you want to send stuff, Cinemasins, P.O. Box 92466, Nashville, Tennessee 37209. We've gotten a bunch of mail, people sending sins for their own movies, man. They're sending, not their own movies, but they're sending their own sins for movies and stuff like that. And they're telling us what's up and everything. Appreciate the letters, guys. I love reading letters from people, and we've gotten some gifts. One of our Patreon members sent a Silmarillion to me. There's a book called Humankind that came in. I don't know who sent that, but thank you for sending that. And we have the P.O. Box. It's not like we've gotten tons and tons and tons of mail, but the ones that we've gotten in they've been some pretty cool things that have come in through there. So
nice. Keep it up.
Thank you very much for doing that. And then anything else that we need to, any other kind of business we have to
take your vitamins.
Take vitamins.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Now, are we going to talk about merch on this one, or
No, let's talk briefly about merch, because I know people are wanting to see if we're answering their questions or what kind of ridiculous thing I have to say today. But we do have a merch store. We don't talk about it a lot because we don't want to be like overbearing. But we've got a variety of shirts. It's all really high quality stuff. We've got beanies with our Pitchfork M logo on them. I tell you what, I personally bought some because I'm a whore for my own company, but also it's comfortable shit, man.
Yeah, it is.
And I find myself wearing these shirts over and over as opposed to my older T-shirts, just because the quality of the fabric is really soft. And find our store by going to our website, cinemasins.com. There's a link up at the top right to the store. Click that, and you're good to go. And just wanted to mention that briefly. So thank you.
yeah. All right, so let's get into rants, and then we'll get into some questions and stuff like that. So what are you guys pissed off about this week?
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
I'm as mad as hell.
You've never seen me very upset.
Barrett?
If you haven't heard, there was one of them insurrections at the Capitol, the U.S. Capitol, as we record this last Wednesday, January 6th. And I was interested, this is such an unusual time. I was interested in watching the Congress certify the results of the electors, just because such a ceremonious BS thing that nobody ever watches. Even the most diehard, politician or political junkie doesn't watch this stuff because it's ceremonial. But because of all the jibber jabber going around, I decided to throw on CNN and watch it. As I was working, I was in the office, had it on the TV. And I was like, hey, all right. And you knew they were going to object and do this dog and pony show and whatever. Then about noon 30 Central Time or so, my wife had also been watching this, and she was saying, Barrett, look at this. And so I go in and I've seen that, some of them have been ushered out. And from that point on, pretty much, I went back and forth a few times. But from that point on, I could not look away from the news. And it wasn't anxiety producing or anything like that, besides fearing for people's lives, obviously. But it was just so unusual that, in real time, you could hear the correspondent saying, those people are on the stairs that you're not allowed to be on ever, let alone if there's a session of Congress going on right now. And then you start seeing the more violent stuff. And then it starts just going, accelerating. And then you start seeing the pictures of them in the Senate chamber and all the violence getting into it. And it was just honestly one of the most unusual days I've ever had, especially watching it unfold on the news. And I got glued to CNN, honestly, for the first hour or so. And CNN was very forthcoming about this is sedition, this is insurrection, this is illegal. What is happening here? This is, certain politicians' fault. And so I said, I want to get a different point of view. So I put it on Fox News. Fox News at the time was reporting the exact same thing. They were reporting on the break-ins. They were reporting on the violence. They were reporting on the Congress people that had been ushered out of there. Switched to CBS, same thing. About 45 minutes later, and this is the end of my rant, and I want to get your perspective. About 45 minutes later, you started hearing the call-ins on Fox and on CNN and on NBC and on MSNBC. And that's where it diverged. That's predictably, you could say. But when it came to this particular incident, I was hoping that it wouldn't be predictably. But you started hearing on certain channels that it was Antifa or it was crisis actors that were involved with this. On other channels, you started hearing that President Trump should be thrown in jail, and so should the objectors in Congress. And it started down that path, and it honestly didn't deviate from that path from that point forward, and it still hasn't. You expect something like that on Twitter, and I was following a little bit online, but I haven't watched that much TV in decades. I really honestly think the last time I watched that much TV was 9/11. And it was quote refreshing, but it was also weird to say, like, I'm going to watch news networks this whole time instead of going to Twitter, because Twitter was honestly behind. The news networks were reporting in real time and people on the ground and stuff like that. Anyway, I wanted to decry that, obviously, the ways that they've branched off into their own spin, but I also wanted to get you guys' opinion on how you reacted to it, what you think, how you think it was covered, and where we're at today.
I think because we were talking about this, that I didn't watch much news because it was making me anxious. I think I'm just frustrated with the way information travels these days, and we talked about this briefly a week or two ago when Chris's rant was people jumping to conclusions about the Christmas Day bomb in Nashville, and how false information spreads faster and further, and it gets corrected 3 or 4 hours later and spreads 1/10 as far, and so there are angry people who genuinely believe this election was stolen from Trump because he and many others have just said that for the last month and a half, over and over and over. Fox News has let it be repeated, and several other elected Republican officials have repeated it over and over. There is no proof. There have been some 61 lawsuits. All but one of them were lost, tossed out of court. So the lie, the false information, then changes to they wouldn't even hear our evidence when there was no evidence. And I think the president bears a lot of responsibility, and I don't think he knows it because I think he's sick, and I think he's a complete megalomaniac who's incapable of seeing right and wrong, and refuses to admit that he lost this election, and that directly led to this violence and will probably lead to more violence. And, it wasn't that long ago that a politician who looked the camera in the eye and lied a provably false thing would be called out by both parties. It wasn't that long ago.
No, it certainly wasn't.
And I just feel like at this point, at least the Republican side of things are just trying to stay in power. And it's sad because I think it sets a dangerous precedent for the future. But I can't watch the news of that stuff. I couldn't watch the news of the Nashville bombing stuff unfold. It just makes me anxious for a variety of reasons. But yeah, there were lawmakers inside that building whose lives were in danger who actually said things that led to that event, encouraged that.
Right. Yeah.
It makes no sense to me. But, we've arrived at a place, and again, this is not the first domino. The first domino, at least that I can remember, I'm sure there was one previous, was the Bush-Gore election, which was challenged in court and ultimately decided by one county. That led to this idea that, we can challenge elections. And if it had been a lot closer, those challenges could have held up, could have lasted longer in court. But there's literally no evidence of any. There is very little evidence of any vote tampering, nothing that would amount to even 1% of what would be needed to overturn the election. And I'm just done, man. If I could take a pill and wake up on the 21st, I would do it. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I'm the exact opposite. I'll watch everything. I watch everything, and mainly, and it's not because I enjoy watching. this type of thing. But I always feel like I need to watch all the things when they're talking about, well, this person got shot. Here's video of it. I watch it. And just so that I can get some context. I don't do this with everything, but I did it on this one. I've seen nearly every video that I can possibly see of what went on inside that they have shown so far. And it was way worse than what we were seeing on the live stuff, because the live stuff was all, here's a bunch of people on the Capitol steps and they're yelling and they're waving flags and stuff. That in of itself is like, okay, that's bad, but there's nothing really bad happening. But then you go inside, and even the inside images they were showing, there were just people strolling through lobbies and stuff like that, and it wasn't anything. But then you start seeing all the stuff where there's people like trying to break through doors and trying to and telling cops that they're traitors and all these different types of things. I was just like, okay, yeah. And now we know there was way worse stuff going on in there, and would have been way worse had certain people not intervened. I saw a video of a guy of a Capitol police officer who was sort of like holding the mob down basically, and he pulled out his baton and would like sit there and threaten the main guy that was coming after him as he was going up the steps. And this guy knew that they were all just they were all looking for, they were looking for senators. They were looking for, people to kidnap and whatever at this point. And this cop, like, I had seen this image so many times, but I didn't see like the aftermath of it. He leads that mob into another room that they didn't want to go to, but they thought that he was trying to guard, and they got met with other Capitol Police people in that room.
Yeah, Eugene Goodman was his name.
Oh my God! Saw that video, just the half of that video with him pushing the dude and all that, and didn't see the end of it ever. And then finally, I saw the end of it, and I was like, "Why did we see that shit?"
Yeah.
For the longest time. Obviously, we could spend a whole couple hours of what I think about this whole thing. There's so many different things. Obviously, what it comes down to is misinformation is the problem. And I've been talking about this. I think there's been a ton of people talking about this on Twitter for years about how we have a group of people who believe one thing and cannot be cured of it. And then we have another group of people who, more or less, because we still don't know everything. Us libs don't know everything either. But I had that discussion earlier in the year. One of my rants was talking about how we need each other. We need someone. If I'm in the Matrix, someone needs to pull me out, right? And if they're in the Matrix, they need to realize that they're in the Matrix and get pulled out. Like, where do we? So
I will pull out for you.
Yeah, sweet. But that's ultimately, to me, what the main problem is. People believing things that are easily refuted, but they keep going down a rabbit hole anyway. To me, when you have people who have, especially in Georgia, people who were ardent Trump supporters, and they say, well, you didn't win the election. That's pretty damning evidence to me. Like, I don't, and then of course, then it becomes, well, who got to them? Who got to those people, to tell, to give them Georgia? And Trump gets, by the way, if Trump gets Georgia, he still doesn't win. That's right. What's so insane about all of this. I still have thoughts about, what if Georgia had gone Trump's way? Would these people that we're holding up as heroes right now in Georgia, would they be on that side of people saying, oh, that must have gotten stolen in the other states and all that? Would they be on that side if that had happened?
Well, Stacey Abrams, and her camp believed that her gubernatorial run was stolen because the the Republican Attorney General or Secretary of State at the time threw out 300,000 votes. And so, I mean, yes, I think that maybe they would have. But would they have been violent about it? Would they have? The crazy thing to me with the misinformation is the only elections that were stolen were the swing states. Every other election and every senator and every Republican congressman that won, those elections weren't stolen. The only ones that were stolen were the 5 states where Trump lost.
Right. And what I've been saying for a very long time too about people who believe in the deep state and all this other type of stuff. I'm like, if there was a deep state as powerful as you guys have portrayed, Republicans would never win another election anywhere, by the way. That's how powerful deep state you have described is. And then you can get into whole like, well, they're trying to make it look good. If I'm the deep state, why would I care if it looked good or not?
No, you're the deep state.
Wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care. I have the power. Fuck you.
Exactly.
I don't need you to win. I don't need you to win to make me look good because I'm just going to have all my people win.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll never understand this people believing in the deep state. And then like, again, and that was another part of a rant that I had before was just like, if you're in this situation where you're like, okay, well, I grant that, but, and then you go down this other little thing. And then you say that, well, maybe it's this. You're in a conspiracy. You have to get out. You have to get out of this whole. Well, what about this happening and what about that happening? Go find the hard evidence. That's what America's really about, right? Finding real evidence. It doesn't matter how much you think something happened. Show me the hard evidence.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
It can't be people saying they think they saw something and that's the evidence. That's what a lot of this is being based on.
Yeah.
Or even bad intentioned, like here's a photograph of somebody dumping ballots in a river and it turns out to be like a preacher dumping extra church pamphlets from 1985 or what. I'm making all that up. My point is there have been video and photograph presented as evidence that turned out to be completely unrelated to even elections. So it's not just. I mean, it's intentional misinformation that then gets recycled as just misinformation.
As many people have been pointing out on Twitter too, with all this when they were objecting to some of these senators and representatives were objecting to the election results. It said that their objection is based on, well, the people out there that my constituents think that there is something wrong with this election. And the reason why this is what's never said. The reason why they think there's something wrong with the election is because of shit that you keep saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can't keep just, it's a circular argument.
Yeah.
So like I said, we could talk about this for 2 hours, maybe even longer if we wanted to, because there's so many different aspects to this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little worried about how many people are, who are supposed to protect us are on this side of people who want to be in the insurrection and everything. I'm a little worried about that because, that you have military forces and police forces who are fractured in many ways, that some of them believe this shit, and you're going to have to battle them too in this whole thing. And it's all because of someone, telling a bunch of wild lies and it's sticking.
It is. And my point of the rant was that the coverage itself, briefly coming together about what was happening at the time and then predictably diverging, learning nothing, obviously. Some of them learning nothing. I won't, I will say that, there are some that seem neutral and fact-based. They're a news organization that could have just been pointing it out. At this point, something like NPR can basically be fact checked. They can talk to people that were there. They can talk to that kind of thing. So there are somewhat neutral folks out there. But the fact that everybody went in their own direction within hours, I mean, just within a couple of hours of this very, very unusual thing happening at the bastion of democracy was disappointing. You saw it in 9/11. You saw it in the aftermath, but you saw it much, much later afterwards. It's crazy
because there was a good unification of everybody after that happened, and then you started seeing the splits into like how much you loved America or not by how much like hatred you could spew. And that started going down that path pretty quickly after 9/11.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, when they threw the fucking American flag on the ground from the second story, I got mad on Colin Kaepernick's behalf, like real hard, because he protested by taking a knee and they made him a pariah. And they protested because they said he was disrespecting the flag. And they threw that flag on the ground to put the Trump flag up in its place. And that is, again, there's a fancy fucking name for how you hold two competing thoughts in your head at the same time. I can't think of it.
Cognitive dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance. I recognize that's a thing, but man, when you leave the realm of facts, then I lose respect for you. This is why, I mean, it was cute when the people who ignored facts were flat earthers, right? That was cute. They don't believe the earth is round. It's not cute anymore when you just don't believe facts about elections. And you just decide to make up an alternate reality so that you can get violent. It's scary. Can we talk about
a lot of the things that we've heard matter so much to this group of people who were storming the Capitol and everything went away during all of it. The Blue Lives Matter, the respect for the flag, all these different things, because it's under the pretense of revolution, right? Yeah. They like under revolution, all that stuff that I believed in before doesn't matter anymore.
What a shitty revolution. Like there's been like a rock revolution. There's been like the free love revolution. There's been really nice revolutions before, like the Hamilton revolution. This is a shitty revolution, man. It's a bunch of people walking around with fucking cell phones and podiums and shit. That's shitty. Yeah,
it was shitty that day, but remember, there's all sorts of stuff right now planned to go on beyond this. So it's not over. That's the problem with all this. There's not anything.
My hope is that we're better prepared. Right, because they're starting to shut down some places, and there's supposed to be 10,000 National Guard in the city by like tomorrow. And we didn't have any of that on the 6th. And what we had was the Capitol Police, who, I don't want to say anything bad about, but they didn't do. They didn't all do a great job. But. Yeah, it's not over. It's scary. I think even once the dust settles and we're into 2022, it's not over. I think even the next time a Republican wins the presidency, it's not over. I think we're in this scary future where people who want to ignore facts are just going to keep doing it and screaming louder.
What if we all moved to New Zealand? They seem like they got their shit together in New Zealand.
Shit, man. They're already back open wide. They already ended everything.
They ended everything. They got like a 37-year-old president or something like that, and she's just into something. And and they've got adorable accents, and they've got hobbits running around.
It's not true.
Yeah, I was told there was hobbits there.
No, that's not true.
Oh,
that's not.
Well, they have mountains and things.
Just Adern lied to me.
I want to get to the questions as fast as possible. Let me lightning round my rant, which is super important in the face of everything we just talked about. I made a ham and white beans soup the other day. And as I go to make it, I'm throwing everything in the crock pot, and I get the can opener out, and I go to the closet, and I get my 2 cans of white beans out, and I bring them over to the counter, and I go to apply the can opener, and they're pull tabs.
Yeah, they are.
And all I really want to rant about is we need unification of the pull tabs or non-pull tab cans. I don't understand why there's 2 kinds. If I don't have to keep that fucking can opener in my drawer, I don't want to.
I
Why
fucking
can't
agree with you.
pull tab on
So
this?
agree with you. Yes.
It's a can of white beans. It was a store brand can of white beans. If
Yeah.
Publix can fucking afford to put a pull tab on their beans, then all brands can do that, and there should be no need for a can opener.
Obviously, you prefer the pull tabs like a normal human being, correct?
Sure. It's
Yes.
easier. I don't have to keep a clumsy, large piece of shit in my drawer.
Correct. And the higher tier brands, the Del Montes, the fucking that kind of thing, they don't have the pull tabs. But the shitty Publix or Kroger brand does have the pull tabs. But on some of their vegetables, not all their vegetables.
Yep.
And I was making a big
uniform.
vegetable soup, and I was jerking off this can, and I was jerking off this can, and I was pulling things, and I was pulling that. But then all of a sudden, the last can opener time. I'm like, fuck you.
Yep.
Not right.
I just want unification.
Like that.
That's all I'm saying.
I like
it should be the same across the board. It cannot be that expensive. I'm willing to pay the 3 cents extra. Del Monte, if you're listening.
And you know they are. You know
I don't understand why once that was invented, it didn't just become universal. Because a can opener is really bulky and one note. It only does one fucking job. And it takes up the space of 4 different kitchen tools in my drawer. And if I don't have to keep it around, I'm not gonna throw that bitch out and just pull tab my way to heaven. And that's my rant.
Yeah. This is something that I don't run into on a daily basis at all. The only thing that I have can wise is cat food, and it's all pop top.
As it should be.
Yeah.
As it should be, because you go frozen veggies most of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I've moved in that direction. But man, canned food lasts for 16 years and all that. And there should be just a little pop top because we've set the precedent for a pop top. Just everybody adhere to that, and everything will be much, much better.
Imagine pulling a Coke out of the fridge and you having to use a can opener to get into that shit.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus! And then having to drink the can from a thing that can cut you.
Let's say it. They put them on all the soft drinks.
Yeah,
that was unification of the tab rule. Let's do it across cans. God damn it!
Oh man. I'm going to get back into some traffic ranting today. This doesn't happen often, but it's it's a very specific place in Nashville. Barrett is very familiar with this. Nashville West shopping. There's it's a big, huge complex of restaurants and like pieces of malls, basically. Like it's all sorts of different
strip mall. Everybody's got them: the Target, the Dick's Sporting Goods, the Best Buy, DSW, and all
that. And so there's this one spot near Sam's Club where there is a lane where you're driving one way, another lane where you're driving the other way, and in the middle there's a lane where you can turn from those lanes. Or if you're turning left or whatever, you can use that as a safe spot to get past one lane while you wait for the other lane to clear off, and you can go off and drive after that and everything. It's a useful lane, that middle lane.
Useful lane,
that's right. There's no traffic there or anything. But one weird thing that keeps happening to me when I drive out there is I'll be driving towards where Sam's Club is, and I don't go to Sam's Club. I have PetSmart and Publix and all this other stuff that I'm going to. But there'll be somebody in front of me wanting to turn left into Sam's Club, and instead of using that useful lane, they stay in the lane where you're driving to turn left.
I've seen this.
And they block you from continuing going, which you could do if they would just get over in the fucking middle lane. And I don't understand this behavior, and I don't understand why it happens here so often. I don't know. Is it old people? I don't understand what it is. Like I got to turn left. I'm going to I'm going to make everybody behind me wait, even though there's a lane I could get into right now that would unblock the whole lane.
That's not right. It's not
That's
right.
it.
I don't like it because you've got two of them. You've got the ones, and I think, I hate to correct you, but it's a Costco. It's not a Sandwich.
Oh, it's a Costco. Okay. All right.
Same thing. But there's the lane to turn in to get gas, and then there's one lane that goes to the store, and then there's one that goes to the liquor store right next to it, and then there's another lane that goes to the other side of the store. And yes, every time people will sit in that fucking regular right-hand lane instead of getting into the useful middle lane. And I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I hate it. I hate it.
Well,
and maybe they are old people.
Yeah, and then also I'll never understand. I feel like this is a Tennessee only thing. When they decide that they're going to build a shopping complex like this or whatever, they're like, let's not make it where there's just straight drives everywhere. Let's put wild curves everywhere so that we can just, I don't know what the point is. When you come out of that PetSmart and you go onto this with one road where the Costco is and everything, if you want to, you pull out to look to see if people are coming a lot of times, and it's like hard to actually really see if people are coming because it's an S curve. That's how ridiculous it is. And sometimes you'll get up there and go, oh, nobody's coming. And then somebody will come out of that bend and you're like, oh shit, I didn't even see that car. What the fuck? Anyway, that's a small rant. I don't get too busy, getting angry about a lot of things other than the shit that Barrett was talking about these days. So anyway, it's time to go into that mailbag. Let's do some questions.
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth.
I am listening.
Listen, we're going to empty our sacks because our sacks have been building up for quite some time. We haven't gotten to all the questions that you guys have sent in. I even tweeted out a request for a bunch of questions, which I got wonderful responses to, and we didn't get time to really get to any of them last week. So we will be emptying our sacks all into your ear holes for your pleasure. So here's the first one. I like this. I love all of these. These are going to be fun. What is a movie scene that just creeps you the fuck out? None of the violence or gore or anything. But in the Kill Bill series, something really bothers this person. The Beatrix Kiddo, who he calls Mia Wallace in this question, she squishes Splash's eyeball, Daryl Hannah's eyeball, between her toes, and it makes this person.
This person knows the person that are asking the question.
Yes, we do.
It makes this person squirm every time. So, what is a scene that's not otherwise in like a horror movie or something like that that just creeps you out?
Every time there is some sort of like bad thing that the character drinks or eats in a movie, I cringe. There's a scene in Road Trip where DJ Qualls complains about his breakfast, and then they take it back, and he starts putting the like French toast in his pants, and he licks it, and all sorts of bullshit. And then they bring it back out to him, and of course he eats it, and he's like, "It's good, it's good." And then Austin Powers, there's a scene where he drinks shit,
a bit nutty.
Yeah. And even after he's been informed of it, he's just like, oh, whatever, it's just a bit nutty. And then of course, Stifler drinks Thomas Ian Nicholas's baby batter.
Yo, what is up
American
with that
Pie.
whole sequence of what are they doing? Heavy petting he and Tara Reid? Did your baby batter come and kill Jeremy?
I think it did.
It's supposed to be about creepy, not gross, and now I want to vomit.
Okay, they're doing like heavy petting, like Rookie of the Year and fucking Tara Reid. And Thomas Ian Nichols. And so when he has to go, he grabs the cup from beside the bed, which is full of beer, right?
Yeah.
And he says, this is the best option I've got.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of going to a bathroom like a regular person.
Or even into the sheets. Or even on her... I'm just saying he had better options than a full cup of beer right next to the thing.
He does that, and then Stifler goes in, and then he drinks it because he's about to have sex with a girl, and then he just casually takes a drink from that beer that's on the dressing table, and so anything like that. And it's why I've never watched Pink Flamingos. It's the reason why I've never watched Human Centipede. There's different, those type of things. You tell me beforehand, like if I had not known about that stuff, I probably would have watched those movies by now. But every time there's a thought about watching either of those movies, I think about, there's going to be that going on, and I don't really want to see that.
That going on, yes.
Yeah.
The baby batter. What do you think, Jeremy?
Just tell me right now, are yours gross? Because I'll just take my headphones off when it's your turn.
No, I don't think so. Not like graphically.
I totally understand what you're going for there. I misinterpreted or interpreted the creepiness differently. So I went with a scene that does not make me want to vomit. In Zodiac, there are like 6 scenes I could have chosen, but the attack during daylight in the park, when the couple's having the picnic, and at first they just see the guy staring at him behind the tree. That fucking scene creeps me the fuck out. That wakes me out more than the later scene where he thinks he's in the basement of Zodiac's house, which is a creepy scene. It's something about the daylight and just the calm demeanor of the killer. And
what is the deal with that? It's been way too long since I've seen Zodiac. He kills that family, right? But they're just going about their business, and they see the
it's a couple, and they're like romantically laying on a blanket in the park, and he approaches them, zip ties them, and stabs them.
Oh,
one of them lived in real life, and that's how we know all the accurate details of this particular attack.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, and if you were to, I think you interpreted this question accurately, Jeremy. I don't know if there's very many things that unsettle me very much. Creep that like the eyeball thing. The eyeball thing is pretty gross though.
Well, I don't think you were even trying to be gross. You were talking more like fingernail on a chalkboard for you moments, right?
Yeah, and it's stuff that makes me kind of go like, twitch a little bit because it's so
your eye starts twitching.
So there's a chance that I'm misreading this question, but if you're talking about what makes me feel the same way this person does when they see a eyeball getting squished, that's sort of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's unsettling. I've always had speaking of stabbing and inserting yourself, I've always had an issue with the heart-ripping scene from Temple of Doom. Hum nom shibum or whatever it is, and he gets in there and he's and because the guy what is it?
Kalima.
Because the guy's still alive, and he's like, what? And he pulls it out, and he's like looking at his heart, and he's like, that's not cool.
Yeah.
And so that, and especially wasn't that a PG movie at the time? Because I watched it when I was young, and I was like,
Yeah, it was a movie that was very instrumental in bringing about the PG-13 rating. And I can't remember. I think was it Red Dawn that ended up being the first one? I can't remember what.
Wasn't it Last Crusade was one of the first ones?
No.
Or was it before that?
This is one of those questions that always gets mixed up because the movies that were responsible for it were not rated PG-13.
Right.
And then the movie that did come out as PG-13 after that was something else.
But Temple of Doom, man, I ain't got no time for that. I can skip that whole thing. Similarly, you were talking about stabbing. I can't do it. I can't watch somebody be stabbed. I can't, and especially when it's slow. I've already mentioned the. I can't even, like, you know how you get like a weird thing in the back of your teeth when you can't handle something. I can't handle this. The scene in Saving Private Ryan where Adam Goldberg gets stabbed. Can't do it. I can't even talk about it.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. And
similar thing happens to the Gray character in Snowpiercer. I hate that scene on multiple levels. First of all, the dude is a badass and should be kicking the old dude's ass. They just came back from the dead. But he finds a way to turn the knife around on him and slowly get it into his body. I know it's a retractable knife, but I'm like, can't do it.
Don't ever watch me play Grand Theft Auto 5 because knife is my weapon of choice.
Well, you don't like slowly stick it into him though, you know?
No, there's no button for that. You just
you would if you could.
Always the same, like an uppercut stab.
And I will say, trying not to spoil the whole thing, but the end of The Strangers has something very, very similar. I won't say which characters are involved, but it's just a very no, it hurts.
Same here, man.
Yeah.
3 months after Temple of Doom came out, they invented the PG-13 rating for Red Dawn.
Yeah, dude. Temple of Doom is the PG-13iest movie ever made.
Apparently, I remember reading about Temple of Doom, and Spielberg and Lucas were both going through divorces during the time that they wrote Temple of Doom. So they made it the darkest shit ever. So anyway.
I mean, it's enjoyable. I enjoy watching it. I don't even mind even though it's racist as hell, I don't mind the dinner scene. I don't mind the spiders and all that stuff. But the heart thing, not so much.
Yeah. And it's got Temple of Dooms has got a lot of following these days. A lot of people like it the best. I briefly thought about bringing up spiders, but it's like so funny the way they do it. Like Cable Guy when he's talking to him on the phone.
That's so great. I'm just so tired, Steven. So very tired.
Across his face.
Here's a fun one. Favorite pro athlete performance in any movie or TV show?
I feel like there were a lot on the league for some reason, but I don't remember like anything standing out, like because they were all just, anyway, they were all comic versions of themselves.
No, I mean, there was Chad Ochocinco was on there one time. There was, it wasn't
Jay Cutler and Kristen Cavallari.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Adrian Peterson was on there. Yeah. I mean, there was a bunch of people. But the first one that came up in my mind was Ray Allen, and He Got Game.
Yeah.
He's not great in this movie by any stretch. He's not great. And a lot of people point out he's kind of the weakest maybe part of the movie or whatever. But I like the performance, and it's not like it's a big stretch for him. He's a high school basketball recruit in that movie, and I think he does perfectly fine in it. It's the first performance that came up in my head when I was thinking about this, and I thought he was really good. That movie's really good.
Yeah,
I think possibly underrated. And then I thought of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in Airplane.
Nice.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has good appearances. I think one of his first one was in a Bruce Lee movie. That all he had to do was fight. But he was in the Stand miniseries briefly, and he was good in that. I think he's hilarious in Airplane, doing what he's supposed to do. I think he's got. I don't know all the other things he's been in, but I think he's got a pretty good handle on this acting thing.
Yeah. I briefly also thought of O.J. Simpson and The Naked Gun.
You can't discount that, you know.
I mean, yeah, to say what you want about O.J. Simpson, the man, in The Naked Gun, it's tough to know how to play these characters in these movies. Because it's easy to be like, which is what you would start seeing in a lot of later, like spoof movies, people doing the whole, like, looking up to the sky and indicating that there was a joke and all that type of stuff that was going on. But O.J. Simpson never lets on there's anything crazy going. Of course, most of the time he's just getting his
ass
completely pummeled. Yeah, in these movies. But I think it's really hard to pull those off. But anyway, there you go.
That's a good one. I'm gonna go with Andre the Giant in Princess Bride.
Nice one.
Who may have only been tasked with playing Andre the Giant. I don't know. I didn't watch wrestling at that point in time. I think he's doing a little acting. It may be the case of better casting than great acting, but regardless, it's one of the most memorable performances by an athlete I think I've ever seen, especially for a wrestler. I think, Hulk Hogan has been in some movies poorly.
No holds barred.
John Cena's early stuff wasn't great. The Rock is probably the most successful wrestler turned actor. You could pick a number of his performances. Dude who plays Drax, I forgot his name. He's pretty decent.
Dave Bautista.
Oh.
Yeah, Batista. But I think Andre the Giant, in terms of just like memorable and lasting, it's got to be up there with Kareem and Airplane, I think, in terms of just a classic role in a classic movie.
Wasn't there some stories of Andre the Giant's prodigious drinking on the set of Princess Bride and everything?
Yes.
Like, he could just drink. I mean, it was an insane amount and would not be phased by it. It took a lot to get him, on there. And I think the scene when Wesley is on his back and all that he's supposed to be super drunk in that. Maybe I can't remember which scene it is that he's supposed to.
When they wrestle, I think I've heard that too. Certainly, he's been known to be a heavy drinker. That would be frustrating, man. Like, to be able to drink 12 beers and feel nothing, I would just be like, fuck you, alcohol.
God damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I got to spend another $25.
I don't like beer that much.
Yeah. Of course, it's funny. You mentioned Andre the Giant. I didn't ever see this movie, and I heard it was bad, but Billy Crystal later did a movie based on his relationship with Andre the Giant called My Giant that had George Murison in it.
Yeah.
But nobody saw that.
Nobody saw that.
No, nobody saw that one. Is that the same one where he's like an NBA referee?
No, that's
Forget Paris.
Yeah.
So nobody saw anything Billy Crystal made in that 5-year period.
Right.
I was thinking about. I haven't seen this movie, so it's not my pick. But in The Rider, isn't that guy or wasn't that guy a professional bull rider?
I should have picked this. Yeah, I'm really impressed that you remembered that, and I should have picked this. Yeah, he was a bull rider who, essentially, he's playing a fictionalized version of himself. He suffered a terrible brain injury while riding, and it's not quite as serious as the one his character has, where his character's not even supposed to ride a horse anymore. Clearly, this guy rode a horse to film the movie. That very good call. Yes, he was a professional bull rider, and he's great in that movie.
He was. Okay, that's interesting. Well, I think this qualifies, even though I think Jeremy said that it didn't. My first thought was Jason Lee, because you think about, I've heard Kevin Smith so many times say that Jason Lee came into audition for Mallrats, and they were like, where'd this guy come from? And I guess it was Scott Mosier or somebody said he was a professional skateboarder. He just decided I wanted to do acting. And he came in and just nailed the part that he ended up getting. He's so funny, but that was his first performance. It was his first movie performance, at least. And before that, he was a no bullshit, like, professional skateboarder. And I guess really talented at it. But he's also a really talented actor. And, once he got through the View Askew-averse and everything, like, obviously he's the best part of Mallrats. And he's outstanding in Chasing Amy. I would say that Joey Lauren Adams is the best part of Chasing Amy, but he's fantastic. But then I think for his best is a tie between Almost Famous, where he's the lead singer in Stillwater, and Vanilla Sky, where he holds his own against Tom Cruise and Penelope Cruz and Kurt Russell and everybody in that movie. And both Cameron Crowe movies, incidentally. But,
and even
those are
My Name is Earl. He carries that whole series.
Indeed.
Is that a good series? I never watched an episode of that thing.
I watched the first season and really liked it.
Good for a while. I watched it for 3 or 4 seasons, and then they started changing rules and things like that. And I mean, you have to, I guess, to make it fresh, but like, it started getting a little bit. I mean, he'd done so many things, and then like how many fucking things did he put on this list? That he had, that he was atoning for or whatever. It's like
was that the deal where he was supposed to be doing good acts or something like that?
Make up for his past, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
No, it's a good show. I watched it all the way to, I don't know, it was like season 4 or something. I didn't finish it though.
I was going to say Gina Carano was good in Haywire, and I actually don't mind her in The Mandalorian. But she has doubled down on her crazy rhetoric, which I will call crazy, anti-masker, stop the steal stuff. So I'm going to disqualify her, but I do want to say Jim Brown has always impressed me as a really, really good actor. And of course, I wasn't alive when he was a running back for Cleveland, so I know him more as an activist and an actor. But Jim Brown, I remember him from Mars Attacks, I guess, but he was in The Dirty Dozen. He's been in a bunch of films, and he's always awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And he was not too bad of a running back, too.
That's right.
He was okay.
Ooh, this is maybe my favorite. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite actor that you think has the potential to play the lead, but hasn't been recognized yet. And what I was thinking about this exact same thing before I even read the question, because when I was recommending The Sound of Metal last episode, I was thinking about Riz Ahmed, and I was like, man, this guy's crushing this role, crushing it. But like until now, he's been the bad guy in Venom, and he's been in these supporting parts this whole time. But like, given the opportunity, he fucking nails it, man. And I'm thinking about like people like Katherine Hahn, who got her big break with Mrs. Fletcher, that HBO show where she could own the show, and she does. And I was thinking about Regina King when she got the lead role in Watchmen, where obviously she's been great for many, many years, but ain't no role that was written for her as well as Watchmen. And so this makes me very excited on who could have that career jump. What do you guys think?
I was having a hard time with this. It's really hard a lot of times because you'll see somebody who's always sort of the sidekick or whatever, and you're not quite sure if their career trajectory is going to lead them to leading man status. Like, the first person that I thought of was Kyle Chandler, but I was like sitting there thinking, Kyle Chandler at this point in his career, I don't think he could just carry a movie. I don't think you could just say Kyle Chandler in this movie and everybody's going to rush out to see it or whatever. Of course, he was the lead in Friday Night Lights TV show, but he has been in so many supporting things now that I don't know how we make him a leading man at this point. He's certainly good looking enough, certainly good, a good actor enough to do it. But the two people that I thought of though, Winston Duke, who's in Us, and he's in Black Panther, and he's in a few other things, but his career's only really just started. He hasn't done a lot of stuff for a very long time. And, I I think he could easily get into that where he's the main person. And then Donald Glover seems to be in a lot of side. He's like a side character a lot of times in movies, but I think he could be the lead, especially like in a comedy. Or, I mean, he could do anything. The guy is multi-talented and everything. He obviously is the lead of Atlanta, which is a great show, which I hope has another season at some point. But I think that he would, given the chance, you could give Donald Glover a lead in something, he'd run with it.
Good call. I like those. I like those. I'm going to go with Miss Ashley Johnson, who you might remember from Growing Pains as the youngest daughter, or from the Avengers movie as the cafe girl that Captain America saves. She's also the voice of Ellie in the video game smash hit The Last of Us Part 2.
Oh, hold on.
And she is lately mostly doing voice work. So the caveat here is she may not want to be a leading lady. She may want to mostly do voice work or side acting gigs, but she is in Last of Us Part 2. She's outstanding, and I've seen videos. Of course, they did a lot of, wasn't motion capture, but they did a lot of the actors doing the voices would act out the scenes, and then they would animate the game based around the movements and whatnot. And I've seen a lot of that behind the scenes, and I think she's got the chops. She's definitely pretty. She's got that famous child star past that I think, would be a draw for people. Oh, it's that girl. So yeah, I'd like to see her get a shot.
I just had that thought. She's Seaver. She's the Chrissy Seaver?
Yeah, the youngest daughter in Growing Pains.
No shit. She must have been super young at that point.
Oh yeah, she was like 7.
Yeah. How old is she now?
37. 37.
Oh, I like that. I recognize her too. Good call.
Yeah. Well, I dug deep on that one, but actually I just I've been trying to find any positives I could out of playing The Last of Us Part 2.
What, meaning it's not good?
No, I said that wrong. I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one, but it's good. But there's no one in my life that knows that game or plays it, so I can't talk to anyone about it. So getting a use for it here on the podcast is sort of what I was going for there, because you guys haven't played that game. My wife hasn't played that game. Anyway.
The first one that came to my mind, I got two, but the first one that came to my mind was a movie that we just recently watched called Luxor, which was such a good movie. Andrea Riseborough is the protagonist in that, and it's just such a simple and beautiful story. But the man that she has been in love with in the past and that she is connecting to in a friendly way and maybe a little bit more is played by Kareem Saleh. And he's so charismatic. And he was in the director's first movie. He's been in quite a few other movies, but nothing where you'd really recognize him unless you saw Luxor. And man, this guy could absolutely devour a leading man role in a one-off movie or even a series, I think. So yeah, that guy deserves a real shot at the top level. The other one that I'd like to see come back, and I think she's done some directing and hasn't done as much acting recently, is Lily Sobieski.
Yeah.
Who I've always thought was a terrific actress. She's been in, a million things. Most notably in my mind, Eyes Wide Shut, playing a very strange character in a strange situation.
Yep.
But she's always been a really, really good actress.
I mostly remember her from the classic Here on Earth, which put her in a love triangle between the Chris guy from American Pie and Josh Hartnett after a car accident.
I see. Yeah.
Yes. Very good synopsis of that forgettable movie, Jeremy.
I saw
Hey, she's in the Wicker Man.
Wicker Man. She is indeed. She's the one that's churning butter or whatever the fuck it is when Nicolas Cage comes out.
But she's a good actress. I'd like to see her come on back. Wasn't she Elijah Wood's Boo in Deep Impact? She was.
I've seen that movie since it came out.
Yeah.
It was her and little Elijah Wood. And then,
Little
the parents are going to die in the flood, so they hand the baby sister to Lele to raise as their own daughter, and they ride off on a moped to the top of a hill. And
they go up to the hill, and the water comes almost up, but then it comes back down.
Yeah, thank God for that fucking moped.
because the asteroid that destroyed the planet was partially named.
It didn't destroy the planet. But what do you remember? Was it the wolf or the Biederman?
It was Biederman.
Oh, I'm just asking. I remember one of them missed and one of them hit. And
no, I mean it basically destroyed the planet. It destroyed Taya Leone.
Yeah,
it didn't destroy the planet. It hit the Atlantic Ocean and it came in ways to the Tennessee Valley, and then like the whole west coast of America is fine. I mean, it's probably some nuclear winter.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
So
the whole west coast was fine. It was Missouri. Yeah, it was Missouri that they went to climb up on the things because that's where the limestone caves were.
I don't know if you say so. I'm just saying the little one is the only one that hit, and so they averted a total global catastrophe.
Yeah.
But I give the movie balls points because they at least had a fucking big meteor hit the earth and do some fucking damage. Whereas like Armageddon, they're like, oh, it's self-sacrificing Bruce Willis. It got all but the tiniest bits.
My favorite points are balls points. Mm-hmm. I appreciate you giving the movie balls points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Gotta have balls.
And balls point pens and shit like that.
Hey, here's a silly question that I love for no reason.
Okay.
Here it is. Favorite movie starting with each letter of your first name.
Mm-hmm.
Did you use Barrett?
I use Barrett, even though I'm a middle namer. But yes, I use Barrett.
So I went ahead and did the full Christopher. If it was just Chris, then we would have Casablanca, Heat, Rear Window. Of course, I saw that Jeremy had Rear Window as well, but I mean, on the R's, it doesn't get any better than that.
Mm-hmm.
Inception and Shawshank Redemption. And then with the rest of it, the Topher part, I have This Is Spinal Tap, Office Space, Prestige, Hudsucker Proxy, Election, and Rushmore.
That's a solid lineup. I have by far the worst one of this whole thing. By the way, speaking of Christopher, do we know if Topher Grace is a derivative of Christopher?
It is.
I would imagine.
I never really thought about that.
It is for a fact.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They went with the Topher.
I guarantee you, after he came famous, somebody named their kid Topher without the Chris part.
Probably.
That's some bullshit. What you got, Jeremy? Jeremy's got such a good one too. Jesus Christ!
It's like naming your daughter Fanny instead of Stephanie. Oh wait, Fanny's her real name. Okay, so my name is Jeremy. It's spelled Jeremy. So I got Jaws, Ex Machina, Rear Window, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, The Matrix, and Y Tu Mama Tambien. Why was not easy? I'll be honest.
You had three for him though, right?
What?
You had three of the Ys.
I did. I chose Y Tu Mama Tambien, but I also had.
What was the third one?
Young Frankenstein and Yes, God, Yes. Not a lot of movies that start with Y.
Yeah, see, it should have been You've Got Mail or Yes Man or
Yahoo Serious. Wait, that's not a movie.
Yeah.
I have by far the shittiest one. I don't even know why. My brain just shut down. These are fun though. All right. So for B, my name is Barrett. 2 R's, 2 T's. So for B, Batman 1989 Batman. Not Batman Begins.
Of course not.
No. I ain't got no time for that. I have a backup on some of these. Better Off Dead was my second one. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
For A, I'm going to go with Annie Hall for my pick. Aliens was my second pick. I like Aliens better than I like Alien.
Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to fight you.
They're completely different movies. You can like them both.
Is that a controversial? I'm not even bullshitting. Like, is that a controversial opinion?
No.
Like,
nope.
Really?
That's a 50-50 opinion. They're both awesome.
I still like both of them. But if you had both of them right in front of me, I would watch Aliens, I think. For the first R, I have The Raid 2. Once again, I like the Raid 2 better than I like the Raid 1, even though they're both
you're just
rad as
correct.
hell. For the other R, I got Rocky, because Rocky is a movie I can watch 7 times straight and not get tired of it. It's a perfect movie.
Did you say 7? 7 times straight?
Yes.
That's just a weird number to pick. That's all. Like I can watch The Martian 13 times straight. That's just a weird number to pick.
Going with prime numbers here.
It's like in Clerks where he's like, my girlfriend sucked 27 dicks in a row.
For the E, predictably, I have Eyes Wide Shut. Another movie I can watch 7.5 times. Sticking with Kubrick, for T, I went with 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yes.
And that's a little bit cheating. My backup was True Romance, by the way.
It's not cheating at all.
So much fun. And then for the other T, I have to, again, I'm going to go with a recent entry, which I have now watched 3 times, Trial of the Chicago 7. And I love that movie. I love it. I liked it when I first watched it.
You had a backup for your first T, which was True Romance.
Yep.
And then you had another T, and you were like, fuck True Romance.
I actually have a backup for the second T, too. I have 3 Amigos for the second T.
All right.
3 Amigos and Trial of the Chicago 7. So, yeah, I have 4 T movies on 2 Ts because that's how I roll.
Anyway, you've seen Trial of the Chicago 7 3 times.
Man. That movie's so fucking good. That movie is amazing.
Why haven't you seen it 7 times in a row?
Well, maybe I will. Maybe I will right after this. After I combine a script, I'm going to watch Trial of the Chicago 7 7 times in a row.
All right.
I think that's Molly's Game. Was it Molly's Game that he directed? No. Okay.
Yes.
Chris, you guys both have seen both of these. Would you say Molly's Game is better than Trial of the Chicago 7 or vice versa?
No. I like it better, but I concede.
You like Molly's Game better?
I do, but I think there's more polish in Trial of the Chicago 7.
I would choose to watch Molly's Game more, but Trial of the Chicago 7 is a better movie, I think.
I got you. Okay, next question. Which disaster films are each of you individually best suited to survive? This was written in by our buddy Jacob Hopkins, formerly from Modern Horrors, and now like a global trekker, Iron Man
Forrest Gump's everywhere.
Runs everywhere. Yeah.
The guy, I didn't even realize that kind of thing existed until Jacob. Like those things where people run insane amount of miles.
Yeah.
Like it's longer than marathons. Like, it's way longer than marathon.
It's the Long Walk from Stephen King.
Yeah.
Where you get shot if you go under 4 miles an hour.
Yeah. Yes. I thought about this for a while, and I came up with Independence Day, because Independence Day is the ships all fly over the big cities, and they're just there for a long time, and like most people that you see in the background of this movie, they're packing up their car and they're getting the fuck out of there, not waiting around to see what's going to happen with these ships going over big cities.
Yeah.
So I'd pack up everything I needed, get in a car, and I'd drive off somewhere to like Kansas, aliens don't care about.
Yeah.
And stay there for a while.
Would you go Middle America? Because I would probably go island. I would steal a boat or figure out, because, so much of the earth is covered in water. I figure if I have a good, reliable boat, I can hit up an island. I can hit up, a seaboard one way or another.
I mean, that's a good idea too. But yeah, I would just be away from a big city, and I would just mind my own business. Of course, I mean, if the aliens are going to overtake the world, there's nothing you're going to do about it. So
I would just go to the lake. I heard maybe they don't like water.
Yeah. I mean, obviously.
In Independence Day, they don't. There's no water weakness.
No, I was just Shyamalan.
No, I understand where you were going, but but in this case, their weakness is that they have terrible antivirus software.
That's right. They're like, what is this? It's a skull and crossbones. I forgot to update my Norton. I'm gonna give it a cold.
I think I would die in most disaster movies because I have a long-standing reputation as a klutz, like not a klutz like John Ritter in Three's Company, where I'm constantly tripping over. I drop shit. I fumble shit. I misread when I reach for shit and bash my hand. Just all my life, I have just been clumsy. And I think you take a person like that and you put him in a disaster movie setting, it's over. There's no fucking hope for that guy. So I chose Poseidon Adventures simply because I did a lot of swimming in my youth. And I never swam competitively, but I took lessons from the time I was like 5. I took diving lessons, and I could hold my breath underwater for longer than most people can. So that's the only advantage I can see in any of these disaster scenarios. And so I decided, because there's a lot of swimming in Poseidon Adventure, like the ones that survive. And Shelley Winters, well, she doesn't survive. But they have to swim through this whole thing and hold your breath for a really long time. I got that. You put me in the towering inferno, I'm going to burn. I'm going to die.
I was sitting there thinking the same thing about a lot of these, like, Twister. Like, I would never be I feel like, yes, if I were at my house, I would be able to find a spot where the tornado may not get me, but I wouldn't be able to be a part of that tornado researching team or Carrie Elways' evil team. I would definitely die in Twister. I would definitely, I don't know, day after tomorrow, I'd probably do something stupid like walk out for a moment while it's like negative 200 degrees.
In your t-shirt, and you're out getting the mail, like, oh my God.
Right. Oh fuck! I didn't realize it was that cold before I died.
That's funny, because that's my answer, is the day after tomorrow. I feel like I could dodge weather stuff either by doing what you were doing, Chris, and go to Middle America where they weren't really affected except for cold. I can deal with cold. You build a fire. Hell, they were in the fucking library and they were fine. They would have been completely fine if Emmy Rossum didn't like jack up her leg on that cab when she was trying to save the lady. But if they could stay warm in the New York Public Library, which is not insulated well, and it's got super high ceilings, those windows are super old, you could probably survive pretty well on this. So I feel like I could dodge some weather in the day after tomorrow. But the main thing that I could survive, if I survive the initial, one I would definitely survive, one I don't know about. So Avengers Endgame, the snap, and half of the people disappear. As long as I don't get snapped, I'm good, baby. I'm all right. I got more elbow room. There's more restaurants to eat at. There's less people currently that could spread germs and things like that. Get some air, get some real air. And I feel like I could navigate that very well. Similarly, in Left Behind,
oh boy,
I would be left behind. And I would be cool with it, baby. I would be like, yeah. Now, in the immediate aftermath of this, much like Avengers Endgame, you would have some plane crashes like Nicolas Cage did. I'm talking about the Nicolas Cage version, by the way, not the Kirk Cameron version. I think he did like 4 or 5 of those. But you would have plane crashes, and you would have helicopter crashes, and you would have car crashes and stuff like that. That's all tragic. But if I were just like sitting in my house, like I normally am, doing work, and the rapture happened, it would probably take me like 6-7 days before I'd even notice it. And then when I did, I'd be like, yeah, let's go walk around the Greenway where nobody is anymore. Hopefully there's a bunch of Christians that just got sucked up into heaven. And I'd be all right with that. I'd be okay with that aftermath. Did you ever see any of the Left Behinds? Did you guys see those?
No, I didn't. No. Remember it being a big deal, but I never saw it.
The book was a big deal, and then Kirk Cameron did a couple of them, I think, and then Nicolas Cage had to pay off his wine bill or something.
Well, he
like
also
that.
did that. The other big Kirk Cameron movie is Fireproof, I believe. Is what it's called. You brought up Thanos. I still don't understand what that asshole was doing. Like, he goes to this planet where he's all by himself, and he's like, "Job well done. Half the universe is gone now, and everybody can drive down highways freely and everything." And like, and then I guess he waits. And he smashed everything, so he couldn't do anything anymore after this. I'm sitting there thinking, does he wait until like the population gets crazy again in the universe? Does he think that nobody can have kids anymore? I don't understand.
He doesn't do that because he destroys the Infinity Stones,
which is what I just said before that. I'm just saying, like he just, how in the world is he supposed to keep this up during this whole thing? And I just never understand that. It's the reason why they changed that thing in the comic book, and that's why it doesn't make any sense anymore. Is because he's like trying to impress Death, and he's not trying to impress Death in these movies. He's just like, half the people gone, job well done. Let's go fucking retire.
Yep.
You know. So,
I'd be fine with that, man. If it just, I'd miss some people. But you get over it. By the time you get to Endgame or the 5 years later thing, I'd be dealing with that. I wouldn't be in the group therapy with Cap. I'd just be like, hey.
Yeah.
The traffic would be marvelous. God, can you imagine?
I know, man.
Just drive around.
Traffic.
There's some part of us, right, in all of us, that we all got some Thanos in us.
Yeah, man, I'd be riding a motorcycle naked, just like balls straddling one side on the other. Yeah, there's only 3.5 billion people on the planet at that point. You can go balls out on a motorcycle anytime you want. No, the chances of anybody seeing you, very small. I'm just saying, 5 years after the snap in Endgame, it looks so fucking dour. Yes, you're going to miss a lot of people, but everybody's just... But after 5 years, man, you move on. There's no reason to have all those boats in the Hudson Harbor or whatever the hell it is in Manhattan and have Shea Stadium closed. They would open not Shea Stadium, Citibank Field or whatever the fuck it is. Citi Field. They'd have that shit open by the next season. They just use, minor leaguers. Look at the pandemic. Look how people are just like, well, we need to have sports. We need to have a 7-win team compete for the college football championship.
People would Interstellar. They did it in Interstellar.
There you go.
It was the Yankees. It was a discount Yankees, but the Yankees were still playing.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Anyway.
Question for you guys. Are there any moments in movies where it cuts to another scene without really finishing the previous, so that you have to wonder what happened in between? For example, and I love this example, I've thought this the exact same time. For example, in The Dark Knight, when Joker crashes Wayne's fundraiser for Harvey, Joker throws Rachel out the window. He says, under the circumstances, not the best choice of words. Drops her. He goes out, and Batman jumps after her. And then they crash into the car below. The film then cuts to Harvey collecting Lau from Gordon. Last we saw, Wayne has locked Harvey in a cupboard after choking him out. And now he's trapped in an apartment with the Joker, who wasn't injured, and some goons who Batman beat up, but will get back up. Surely Joker would continue to search for Harvey. Great example. I hate this.
It's a famous example too, and funnily enough, if this episode slightly turns into a behind the scenes episode for a moment, we didn't send it, and the reason why was because we were still trying to figure out each other's writing back in the day. And what everything meant. And Jeremy wrote a sin for this about like how Joker probably killed everybody at the party and everything. But there was no time. I think there was no time code, and there was no lead in or anything. So that's all it said.
He just wrote it on there.
And so I was like, okay, well, I guess because I was combining on that one. I was like, I don't know what to think of this. So I cut it. And then we'd come out with the video and people were like, how could you miss this part? And blah, 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 and everything. And I was like, shit. And they didn't mean to. I feel like this happens. That's a famous example. I feel like this happens so often that I can't even actually think of a real specific instance of it. There are so many times where people go over to somebody's apartment and they lay this super huge bomb on them, and that's the end of the scene.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, did you have a fucking conversation afterwards about what you're going to do and like how you feel about it and everything? So I see that a lot in these movies where they just want to end the scene dramatically and everything.
Yeah.
But going along those lines, I was thinking, and this may not be a perfect example of this, but I still want to know what the fuck Dennis Hopper was doing in Speed when he somehow cut out a part of that sidewalk underneath the trash can, either before all of this happened, which is problematic in many ways, or after, which is even more problematic because
it's like Samuel L. Jackson in Winter Soldier.
Yeah, he has to. If Dennis Hopper is waiting until he kidnaps Sandra Bullock and he goes under into the subway system and all that to cut out that section under the trash can where the money is and everything, how was he able to pull that off? Does he have a ladder sitting there with a chainsaw and all sorts of shit? And he kidnaps Sandra Bullock and straps bombs to her and all this stuff. So there's a point where he sees her out on the street because the ambulance is pulled over to the fucking crime scene.
Yeah, and she's just wandering out.
She's just hanging out, and he sees her and kidnaps her and everything. And then then Keanu's like, have we turned on the bug yet? And it's like, no, they haven't turned on the little bug thing that shows them that if the money is moving or not and all that. And it's like, as soon as they cut there, the money is moving. So how much time had to have gone by at that point where Dennis Hopper takes Sandra Bullock down to the subway, goes down that long ass fucking hallway that they were in, with a ladder and a chainsaw of some sort, cut out this big hole while she's sitting there, I don't know, dealing with bombs strapped around her waist and everything. So, I wish I could come up with a specific example like this Batman one, but where there's just clearly just things they've just completely left out, and they just said fuck it, they just figured, well, since the scene here, the real story here is that Batman caught up with Maggie Gyllenhaal and saved her. That's the main point you should take. Don't worry about that Joker being still up there in the party.
It was like, well.
Yeah. Oh darn.
I also struggled mightily with this question. My actual prep answer in the email is, I don't have an answer for this yet. I'll try and think of one. And I like Chris's explanation that it happens so often, it clouds your mind and try and think of specific examples. What's funny to me is that I pulled a not quite technically an answer to the question example from the movie Speed.
Oh, really?
And it's the dude that shoots the bus driver. And we just seen this movie recently, but there's a criminal on this bus who thinks Keanu is there to arrest him. He pulls out a gun. Keanu does the whole famous, I don't care about your crime. And I think we wrote, you should. If he's serious enough that he's pulling a gun, it's probably a bad crime.
On a cop.
And in wrestling for the gun, the bus driver is shot. And this dude faces zero consequences. The movie it should not cut from the end of the blowing up over to her in the ambulance and the whatnot with the money drop. It should cut to another scene of them arresting that motherfucker, saying, I'm glad you're alive, but you have 3 warrants. And it just bothers the shit out of me that guy gets to go home and watch the evening news and get away with his crime.
I shot a bus driver today, but I got away with it.
But because I wasn't a bomber, no one remembered.
Yeah. What if this guy killed 50 people? I just like it's so insane. Like what he could have been guilty of. And we're, yeah.
The movie could have done. I mean, the movie clearly wanted the bus driver out of the way, so Sandra Bullock would have to take over driving, and this is what they came up with. They could have come up with maybe a better.
The guy
bus driver has a heart attack. That works better for me than this.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
My favorite example of this from back in the day was X-Files. X-Files would always have Mulder on location calling Scully. Who's in the lab, working on something. She's like, Mulder, this doesn't add up. And he would say something pithy and either hang up the phone without saying, okay, see you later. Or the scene would just cut. She'd be, or he wouldn't say anything. And she'd be like, I think this was extraterrestrial. And he would look off to the side and then the scene would cut. Like, what is the rest of that conversation? Like, well, I guess I'll go over to this spot and check that out. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do? You're going to be back at Quantico? Okay. You stay there. All right. Take care. See you later. But no, Mulder just kind of did his own thing. But I just saw something recently where it really bothered me. There's a 1-2 punch this weekend of two of my least favorite Marvel films. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and then Age of Ultron. And I hate watched both of them. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is the better of the two, I think, because at least it's colorful. At least it's going for something. I think story-wise it's lacking, but it's more fun than Age of Ultron, for sure. But in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, you got Kurt Russell as Ego, the planet that goes around fucking ladies on different planets and producing offspring. And one of those offspring is Peter Quill, Star-Lord. And so he finally gets Quill back to the planet, and he's whining and dining him. And he's like, oh, all this could be yours, and you're my boy, and I love you, and stuff like that. And he's throwing his pitch at him. And at one point, it's just him and Quill. And he's like, I've looked for millions of years of my existence, and I finally found somebody that was worthy of my seed, or something like that. Somebody that the progeny of the woman that I loved is the answer to my issues. And Chris Pratt goes, why did you leave her if you loved her so much? And then Ego goes, cut to the Ravagers scene after they've mutinied on Yondu and they're starting to throw people out into space. After that whole conversation, I guess they just said, they nodded at each other and just walked away. And the next one they show is the one where he's showing him the light and they start playing catch, and it's bullshit and it's awful. And like, I'm just like, what happened after that? What was his response to that? Did he just walk away? Did he storm off? Did he do anything? You could have had 30 more seconds in that scene to resolve it. And no.
This gives me the sense that they had an explanation written and they acted it out and everything. And then when they went to edit it, they were like, I don't like this scene. I don't like what they're saying. I don't like the reason he's giving. It doesn't make any sense to what we're going to do later and all that. And they cut it out. But then you, the audience, is left going, but that's important.
It is. And I'll tell you what, and you're absolutely right, I would assume. But then cut the whole scene, because the next scene is him asking the exact same question, and then you start to get some resolution. Then you have the play catch and stuff like that. You don't need all that other stuff. Just cut that scene. That's one of the problems with that whole movie, is that there's too much. There's too much of that stuff, and it needed to be chopped down to be snappier like the first one.
you brought up X-Files, and like TV is probably the worst offender of this, especially when they're doing cliffhangers in any kind of thing. I remember being an avid watcher of the OC back in the day.
Yeah, you were.
When it was going on, and there was I don't even remember what was going on in this one scene, but it was the Benjamin McKenzie character was seeing somebody he was dating somebody, and then he went to an ex-girlfriend's house and started talking to her or whatever, and I guess there was an idea that maybe they'd get back together. I don't even remember if that was what it was. It was something like that. And then the girl that he's actually dating shows up to the house, and she's like, "So what's up?" And that's how the episode ends. And then the next episode, it's like, there's been no discussion about it. They're just in a completely different place. And it's like, why would there not be a big discussion after this? You have your ex-girlfriend over and talking to her and all this, and don't tell me about it. But then next episode, nah, we won't address that. It'll be a thing, but maybe 5 episodes.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's annoying.
Yeah, I know we still have a lot more, but hopefully we'll be able to answer them over the next few weeks when we're doing all this. We have a really cool one next week.
That's right.
So yeah, I'll just leave you with that. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week. Keep going to SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. We're also on Cinemasins Twitter, Music Video Sins Twitter. We're on SoundCloud, and we're on Discord. If you want to get on Discord, you can go to our Reddit page and find a link on the right side of the page there, or you can go to Facebook and private message me there. But that's going to do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
I did a kale smoothie this morning.
Nice.
Yeah, can really taste the kale.
You can really taste the kale.
Yeah.
I had some cran lemonade from Ocean Spray. And
did you ride a skateboard while listening to Fleetwood Mac?
No. Crank that sucker. Crank that fucker. Hey, I got an idea for an idea. For
Well, Chris is disgusted with that idea.
He hates it. He hates it. God, I've never seen him hate an idea more. Fucking Barrett and your merchandising and promotional concepts. I get up and walk, halfway across the house for Tums when, it doesn't seem worth it.
The Ricos happen quite a bit. I think mainly Michael Ironside is the one who does the Ricos, but he says a lot of them. He says a lot of them. It's Rico. Right at the beginning, Rico, and then towards the the middle, after the middle part of the movie where they're in the outpost that gets attacked by the millions of bugs and everything. There's a point where everybody, it seems like Johnny has the biggest fucking advancement of his career.
Every goddamn battle he's getting fucking field promoted.
So he's like a sergeant, and then some asshole goes over and starts taking pictures or something and gets killed. And Michael Ironside's like, "How would you like to be sergeant now?" And so he's corporal, and then he's sergeant, and then Doogie Howser shows up and says, "Hey, I hear there's a lieutenant opening." And
what do you say?
Let's skip over all these other assholes that were there before you.
This is a guy who was whipped and then expelled. Basically, he quit. Yeah. And then he ends up basically being the general. Oh man, God. I love that movie.
I want to stick my dick in that movie's ass.
He starts copying everything Michael Ironside said.
Yeah. You want to live forever?
Yeah.
Who was in Ready or Not? Samara Weaving And is it Adam Brody that's in that?
Adam Brody. You
Adam
have
Brody.
that dude from The Fugitive is the
Henry
dad.
Shearney.
Yeah, not The Fugitive. I meant the Mission Impossible. Was the Henry Journey is the dad.
Andy McDowell.
Yeah. Oh, it's Andy McDowell. That's right. Yeah, it's a really good cast.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
I like that movie a lot.
I'm telling you
That
what, though,
movie was fun as
that
hell.
kid, the fiance, the son, Samara Weaving's husband, he's the evilest fucker in this whole movie, and he knows the possibility of what's coming, and he just is counting on the odds to save him, so he never tells her. And
But they haven't had it for like 100 years or something, right?
it's not been that long, no, but it's been a generation.
Yeah, because they were the very beginning of that movie is the kids running through the house because that's
right. That's
was
right.
picked. The Ready or Not was picked, or the Hide and Seek was picked.
But isn't he trying to save her at first, like legitimately, or is he setting her up?
No, he's not setting her up. He just never tells her the truth, and then once or twice, once the game gets going, he does one or two things to try and help her or save her, but it's too fucking late, man. Like, you have to at least tell her the odds. He's just banking on, well, there's no way it's going to be hide and seek.
Right.
And I don't even fault the demon who, like, explodes their heads at the end as much as I fault this motherfucker.
What's the most rewatchable Mission Impossible? Is it the first one, or is it Ghost Protocol?
Number 4, Ghost Protocol. God, it's been running recently on Epix, one of these channels, and I forgot how fucking fun that movie is.
Can't look away. It's definitely the most fun. It is absolutely the most fun.
The next two, I think, are technically better achievements, but they aren't as fun. They're still fun, but they're not as fun.
It's Brad Bird saying, like, hey, let's take the foot off the gas and let Jeremy Renner do a few stretches before he
I love that part when Tom Cruise is coming back and he's like 3 floors and 5 offices over away, and Jeremy Renner's like, your line's not long enough. Tom Cruise goes, no shit. That's before he goes and does that running jump into the room. I just love that delivery.
Oh, it's so great. It was. Is it Leah Seydoux that's the assassin in that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness gracious!
And then you got Pammy Pam, and what's her name?
Pammy Pam.
It's not Pam.
Jordana Brewster? No, Paula Patton.
Paula Patton. Paula Pammy Pam.
Pammy Pam. What was the deal with the nipples on Friends? Do you know? Have you taken a deep dive into the nipples? Because they were always.
I know that it's most prominent with her, but it's all 3 ladies, and I have no idea if it was some sort of. Okay, it could be harmless, right? The studios could be really cold.
Yeah, but come on, man! I didn't ever see it with Phoebe. I saw it with Courtney Cox, and
it was it's so obvious in so many episodes. It feels intentional, whether it was the actress or the costume person or some patriarchal male director insisting on. It's like that.
He's out there rubbing ice on.
Chris, you remember that Feast movie from the green light?
I remember, and I know what you're about to talk about too. Yeah. Because it's who is that actress who was in that? She was in a lot of. I think it was God.
She dated Clooney.
Yeah, she was in a lot of softcore stuff. What was her name?
I'm looking her up.
I
never saw that series.
She was in that. She was in those Emmanuel things that were on Cinemax.
Yeah.
You know, where they made that. I guess they made a series out of that movie that came out.
They sure did. Yeah.
Krista Allen, is that who it is?
Krista Allen. Krista Allen is also the girl that's in the elevator in Liar Liar. That.
Right.
When Jim Carrey's like, because your boobs are huge, you know.
God, we can't use any of this.
Sure we can. No, what is the deal with her nipples in that?
Oh, the producers of Feast came up to or was it? It's Gulager was his last name. John Gulager.
Yeah. John Gulager
went up to him and said, "Yeah, her nipples keep poking through the shirt." And they needed him to go and tell her that. And so, I mean, Gulager, I mean, this is his first, I mean, he's semi sort of been in the movie business, but like telling someone that their nipples are poking through a shirt is a new thing for him. So like, of course it comes off weird and creepy when he goes over and says that. And she's like, oh my God, my nipples are popping through. Oh my God. She goes to the camera like, can you believe these people? You know, that type of-
Well, you're a student of the game, so I would not.
Honestly, I still laugh at the parts that are funny, but the older I get, the more problematic this show becomes. Just because
It sure does, doesn't it?
it's not just the problematic casual homophobia and misogyny. It's the recycled jokes, man. There are so many episodes that do storylines that Seinfeld did. Or previous, and I realize sitcoms generally are only recycling the same, 48 plots or what have you. But I mean, I have a list somewhere I started keeping of Friends episodes that mirror, like there's a whole episode where Chandler can't cry, and then they finally get him to cry, and he can't stop crying.
Yeah.
It's the same fucking thing as Seinfeld, and not as funny. Anyway.
And they were about a year or. When did Friends start? 94, 95?
I was in college.
I think that's
95.
right. I
Okay,
remember.
so Seinfeld already had like 5-6 years on it.
Yeah, they overlap about 4 years, I think.
I remember talking about the first season of Friends when I was, I believe, a junior in high school. So that would have been 94, somewhere around there. And Seinfeld started like 89, 90.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The pilot was 89, and then that first truncated season that was like, 5-6 episodes or something like that was picked up in 90.
Yeah, the Seinfeld Chronicles.
I read an interview with Larry David where I think it was somebody else talking about Larry David, but they were so concerned that episode was going to get pulled by the studio, by the network. They didn't even have it on their board in the writer's room. They never worked on it in the writer's room. It wasn't on the whole season board. So when the network execs would come by, there was no hint of it. And so the first time they saw the script was the table read, and it went so well, they were sold.
You're talking about the contest?
Yes.
Well, you know what? You know what's fucked up about the contest is that when they discover that the naked woman is across the street with the windows open, this is so gross. Kramer goes over to his apartment. And like I think I clocked it the last time. It's like 25 seconds.
Yeah.
And then he comes back and throws his money on the table. And he's like, I'm out. Notwithstanding the time issue, ain't no way he had time to clean up before he slapped that money down barehanded on the fucking table.
Maybe
and then they pick it up and they're like, huh?
Maybe that's the joke. Yeah, maybe he didn't have to have.
If that was the case, it should stick to his hand.
No, maybe he didn't have to touch anything. He's built it up so long. He's just
or maybe he was preemptively paying it off because he knew he was going to later.
Oh, that's also true.
I mean, I think obviously the show is saying that he did it, and they're saying that much more time actually happened than really it did. But if you have somebody doing a thing, like that's what they do in movies. They fuck this up all the time. Somebody will be singing a song, and somebody will go and do something impossible. And the answer is, well, there's a passage of time there. Well, no, one of the characters in the scene is singing a song.
Yeah.
So it took that long for that person to do the thing and come back. And in this case, they're looking out the window at the naked woman, and they wouldn't have been doing that for an additional, however long it would have taken Kramer to,
I do like the idea that he just walked into his apartment and started spewing everywhere.
Right.
Just
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
That's how it happened.
Our outtakes are full of nipples and masturbation.
There's a point where just everything it gets ridiculous. Even Deadpool, as funny as it is, has a lot of that samey kind of wrong humor that keeps happening. I think we even pointed that out in the Sins video, where it's just like everything is this fucked this, and that's what happened. This was the result. They say that about 3 or 4 times. Do you look like this person fucked this, creature?
Topographical map of Utah or whatever.
Yeah. and it's always that's the result of it or whatever. But Happy Time Murders, if I recall, it's a lot of stuff like that where they're just, it's just they throw in something like super wrong with a few pepper it with a few fucks and think it's funny.
There you go.
Like Cinemasins.
Right? They could at least censor that nonsense.
They have the internet on computers now. What the fuck indeed?
No.
Are you talking about me?
No. Damn, somebody else is using binoculars. And that's what's weird.